From the far reaches of the Milky Way galaxy, it's Retro Nerd Girl with a film review for you. Today, I'll be reviewing the movie The Disaster Artist, released in 2017. Starring James Franco, Dave Franco, and Ari Graynor. Directed by James Franco. The synopsis is, this is an adaptation of the non-fiction book, The Disaster Artist, My Life Inside the Room, the greatest bad movie ever made, written by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell, published in 2013. So let's quickly recap the origin of the book. The Room is a movie released in 2003, produced, directed, and starring Tommy Wiseau, in which Greg Sestero played the part of Mark. In the film, Johnny and Lisa are happily engaged until one night Lisa decides she's bored with Johnny and wants to ruin his life by sleeping with his best friend Mark. The film was meant to be a dramatic tragedy, but there were so many problems with the film that it became a hilarious comedy of errors. The Room got little to no traction when it was released in 2003, but much of the film's legacy was due to the fact that there was so much word of mouth about a hilariously bad movie that began circulating around film lovers and the film industry, with a growing cult that the film community began interviewing both Greg and Tommy about the decisions made in the movie to try to make sense of it. The idea for the book came to Greg after appearing on the podcast How Did This Get Made? Episode 23 on November 15, 2011, hosted by comedians Paul Scheer, June Diane Raphael, and Jason Mantzoukas, who all appear as characters in The Disaster Artist. Greg Sestero had incredible insights to share on that podcast, and that podcast was really what inspired the book and this movie. The book was critically acclaimed and soon adapted into a movie by James Franco and Seth Rogen. James Franco signed up to star, direct, and even co-write the screenplay. Accompanied by much excitement and hype from the movie's marketing, The Disaster Artist was one of the most anticipated films of 2017. Even though Tommy Wiseau thought that the book was about 40% true, he gave his full blessing for the movie. In fact, at some point, Greg Sestero said that Tommy claimed that the only two people who could ever play Tommy in a movie were James Franco and Johnny Depp. And voila! Here we have James Franco ready to play him in a film. Coincidentally, James also played Tommy's acting idol, James Dean, in the James Dean television movie biopic released in 2001. So dare I say this was meant to be. Upon seeing the film and watching all of the hype before the film was released, I got the sense that this was a special project for James Franco, who seemed to be mesmerized by Tommy Wiseau, as were we all. He transformed himself with hair and makeup to look like Tommy as much as possible and set out to duplicate the Tommy experience throughout the production by speaking in the same mysterious accent and displaying all of the mannerisms that Tommy has, even off camera. He did, however, make decisions and directed the cast and crew as James would normally do, simultaneously. James's brother Dave Franco played Greg Sestero, and many were very dubious about the choice given in the height difference between Dave and Greg. However, Dave knocked it out of the ballpark, capturing Greg's gentle tone of voice and natural sense of innocence in the situation. This was the first time brothers James Franco and Dave Franco appeared on screen together, and a third brother, Tom Franco, also made a cameo in the film in a small role. The cast list was a Hollywood's who's list, such as Zac Efron, Sharon Stone, Melanie Griffith, Zach Braff, Bryan Cranston, Kevin Smith, Keegan-Michael Key, Kristen Bell, and J.J. Abrams, just to name a few. The film recounts Greg's experiences trying to make it as a young actor in Hollywood and how he meets Tommy. The story becomes Tommy's story told from Greg's perspective, but it seems to have a little more added liberties just to help us understand Tommy's actual perspective too. It's kind of trippy watching this film knowing that it's a biopic of a movie, The Room, which has been parodied in many, many forms in every way imaginable. However, having a laugh at a movie is one thing, but I was really hoping that this wasn't going to be a malicious, hurtful kind of thing where everyone comes together to make fun of Tommy. I just couldn't really support anything like that, and I'm really happy to say that this film is very respectful to Tommy. The film flushes him out as a full character. Whether you think that he's good or bad, a villain or a hero, he is played really as a lonely dreamer with ambition and heart. He's human. In this story, we can really find the thing that binds us all together, the need for love, acceptance, and friendship. And yes, this is a film about friendship. Greg and Tommy are total opposites, so it seems so strange that they would even become friends. Yet they did, and the film really gives us some insight into their rocky and complex union. Without experience, but really driven somehow, Tommy wrote a screenplay and had a dream to see them both starring in a movie together. He did not want to do it alone. He did not want to do it without his friend. And that says a lot about his character. Tommy's motivation for nearly everything he does in the film, rational or not, it's about experiencing the fantasy of simply being accepted. And truthfully, how many of us are actually seeking that right now? As for his decisions on set, let's be realistic. It's very hard to make a good film, especially if it's the first film that you've ever made. Even with the best intentions, directors, producers, money, actors, and technology, we have seen time and time again that none of those things matter to the success or quality of a film. Even a good script can be hacked in the process of making a film. It's not easy. And you really feel the disappointment of seeing how the audience responded to Tommy's film and how it affected him so deeply. It really hurt him a lot. And what I admire about Tommy as a person and as a character in this film is that he took that disappointment and embraced it. And some may call it delusional, but I think it's also a coping mechanism that actually has been working for him, has given him acting jobs, and also has allowed him to actually participate in this industry that he loves. The only thing I felt was missing from the film was the sense of closure between 2003 and the present day. It would have really been cool to see how the cult following for The Room slowly grew over the years, and more people have been going to see the screenings, and more people have been asking questions about the characters and how things were done on set. However, I have to say that the film creates this wonderful montage at the end of the film, nicely placed during the credit scenes that were painstakingly created to the minute detail. This was a fascinating treat, and it reveals the artistry that is within. Definitely a very appreciated moment in the film. This movie brings to the screen the struggle of so many thousands of people who are on the outskirts of the film industry, people who are struggling to make their own independent films, people who are struggling to get a cast together, to get enough money together to produce their films. And I feel as if it speaks for the passion and the love of filmmaking itself. Greg and Tommy did not make their fame in the industry the traditional way in Hollywood, but over 15 years after The Room, and through the humble and graceful service of the fans of the film, through endless viewings, discussions, and interviews. And this was a very fine tribute, in my opinion, to their struggle. My rating is an 8.6. Well, that sums up my review. I hoped you liked it. And if you like content like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to know the next time I post a video. This is Retro Nerd Girl signing off. Take care, movie lovers. I'm off to my next review.